Good morning, everyone. My name is Kerry Craig, and I am your host and one of the presenters. It is Prosperity Indiana's pleasure to have you participate on today's webinar, Introduction to Community Development. We wish to thank today's sponsor, Fifth Third Bank. Before I turn over the webinar to Prosperity Indiana's Executive Director, I want to mention a few housekeeping items. First, please be aware that all audio is muted. If you would like to ask a question, there are two ways to do so. First, you can use the raised hand icon on your screen and I will call on you to ask your question, or you may type your question into the question and answer box, which is also located on your screen. We all know that technology can be trying these days, especially while working from home. So if you lose your connection, you may also reconnect using the link emailed to you. Finally, you may access today's webinar presentation and recording later this afternoon if you are a Prosperity Indiana member. And now I wish to turn it over to Jessica Love, Prosperity Indiana's Executive Director, for some opening remarks. Jessica?
Thank you, Kerry. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us. I think there's some feedback from someone. Everyone's muted. As we launch into a broader community development learning series, I really want to acknowledge that this is still 2020, the year of our COVID-19 outbreak, and the pandemic is never too far from our minds. But as we're moving into our new normal or next normal or whatever you want to call it, we are attempting to do our learning now with that as the backdrop of our work instead of always in the forefront, although we do know it changes the way we do community development, maybe forever, even if it doesn't change the tenets of it, which is some of what we'll be discussing today. And so I'm thankful for our team and for continuing on with this good work, and thankful for one of Prosperity Indiana's board members being able to participate as a presenter today. And we really could not do any of this without the support of sponsors. And sponsoring today's event, we have Fifth Third Bank, a supporter of our training series throughout this year, including our COVID-19 specific webinars and our COVID-19 resources hub through a Strengthening Our Communities grant. And with that, I'd like to welcome Jadira Hoptree, Vice President and Community Economic Development Manager for Fifth Third Bank Indiana region, to say a few words. Good morning, Jadira.
Good morning, Jessica. Good morning, everyone. Thank you once again to Prosperity Indiana for continuing to provide very critical information to our community partners. Thank you for all the presenters today for the willingness to, on a Monday morning, come up and continue to educate our community partners, and you community partners for still stay very engaged in bringing important information to your communities. As you see on the slide, my title is Community and Economic Development Manager. The community development is very close to my responsibilities, but more important to my heart. And I do think that although there is so many different priorities and important areas in today's day, living with COVID-19 and with all the other challenges that we are addressing, I believe that it's been very noticeable that community development, understanding the key metrics and understanding how to grow a holistic community around you, is more important than ever in the health area, in the economic area, and really on the future of our cities and our state. So I look forward to learn more about the webinar today. I unfortunately cannot stay with all of you throughout the webinar, but please feel free to send questions for me or any questions or any suggestions through the chat box. Prosperity Indiana has been very good about sharing those with me, and I will get in touch directly with you. That can be in reference to the webinar today or interest of working with Fifth Third on presentation and webinars, or also any need of donations or sponsorship that you would like to discuss. That's what we're here for, to support our community. So with that, once again, thank you, Prosperity Indiana, Look forward to be able to read about the webinar later on. Back to you, Kerry.
Thank you, Jadira, and thank you again to our partners at Fifth Third Bank for making today's webinar possible. For more than 30 years, Prosperity Indiana has mobilized members to create economic opportunities and improve social conditions, particularly for Hoosiers who are most disadvantaged. As a statewide cross-sector membership network of approximately 200 organizations and individuals, Prosperity Indiana's impact through members has strengthened communities and improved lives in rural, suburban, and urban areas in every county. It is our mission to build a better future for our communities by providing advocacy, leveraging resources, including providing training and consulting services, and engaging an empowered network of members to do this important work. Our members represent human services, the arts, legal aid, congregations, workforce development, real estate, health services, financial institutions, philanthropy, all levels of government, community action agencies, private and nonprofit affordable housing developers, local economic development organizations, and more. If you are not a current member, please go to prosperityindiana.org to learn more. Before we can understand what community development is, we need to understand what both community and development are. Often we think of community, we think in geographic terms. Our community is the city or town where we live. When community is defined through physical location, it has precise boundaries that are readily understood and accepted by others. But defining communities in terms of geography, however, is only one way of looking at them. Communities can also be defined by common cultural heritage, language, and beliefs or shared interests. These are sometimes called communities of interest. Even when community does not refer to a geographic location, it doesn't always include everyone within the area. Most of us belong to more than one community, whether we're aware of it or not. For example, an individual can be part of a neighborhood community, a religious community, and a community of shared interests all at the same time. Relationships, whether with people or the land, define a community for each individual. There are several different dimensions to community. The first is place, as we mentioned, population, political system, social organization, cultural system, and economic system. The term development often carries an assumption of growth and expansion. During the industrial era, development was strongly connected to increased speed, volume, and size. However, many people are currently questioning the concept of growth for numerous reasons. A realization that more isn't always better, or an increasing respect for reducing outside dependencies and lowering levels of consumerism. So while the term development may not always mean growth, it always implies change. So what is community development? It is a broad concept applied to the practices of civic leaders, activists, involved citizens, and professionals to improve various aspects of communities, typically aiming to build stronger and more resilient local communities. It is holistic in its approach, grounded in principles of empowerment, rights, inclusion, social justice, self-determination, and collective action. Community development considers community members to be experts in their lives and communities, and values community knowledge and wisdom. Community development programs are led by community members at every stage, from deciding on issues to selecting and implementing actions and evaluation. Community development has an explicit focus on the redistribution of power to address the causes of inequality and disadvantage. Community development is also understood as a professional discipline and is defined by the International Association for Community Development as a practice-based profession and an academic discipline that promotes participative democracy, sustainable development, rights, economic opportunity, equality, and social justice. Community development seeks to empower individuals and groups of people with the skills they need to affect change within their communities. These skills are often created through the formation of social groups working for the common agenda. Community developers must understand both how to work with individuals and how to affect communities' positions within the context of larger social institutions. The community development process takes charge of the conditions and factors that influence the community and change the quality of life of its members. Community development is a tool for managing change, but it is not a quick fix or a short-term response to a specific issue within a community. It is not a process that seeks to exclude community members from participating, nor is it an initiative that occurs in isolation from other related community activities. Community development is all about community building as such, where the process is as important as the results. One of the primary challenges of community development is to balance the needs for long-term solutions with the day-to-day realities that require immediate decision-making and short-term action. In this slide, we see the 5 aspects of community development: social, economic, political, environmental, and cultural. As was noted earlier, community development is a process where community members come together to take collective action and generate solutions to community problems. Community well-being, that is to say, the economic, social, political, environmental, and cultural aspects, often evolve from this type of collective action being taken at a grassroots level. Community development ranges from small initiatives within a small group to large initiatives that involve the broader community. Effective community development should be a long-term endeavor, well-planned, inclusive and equitable, holistic and integrated into the bigger picture, initiated and supported by community members, of benefit to the community, and grounded in the experience that leads to best practices. Community development is a grassroots process by which communities become more responsible, they organize and plan together, they develop healthy lifestyle options, they empower themselves, they reduce poverty and suffering, they create employment and economic opportunities, and they achieve social, economic, political, cultural, and environmental goals. Community development seeks to improve quality of life. Effective community development results in mutual benefit and shared responsibility among community members. Such development recognizes the connection between social, cultural, political, environmental, and economic matters, as well as the diversity of interests within a community and its relationship to building capacity. Community development helps to build the capacity in order to address issues and take advantage of opportunities, find common ground, and balance community competing interests. It doesn't just happen. Capacity building requires both a conscious and conscientious effort to do something or many things to improve the community. So what is it? It's both a process where structural changes in a community, including use of resources and the functions of institutions, which increases the capacity of people. And it's also an outcome whereby more community assets such as jobs, income, buildings, and recreational areas are created, and more resources are being used by people. History of community development here in the United States. In the United States in the 1960s, the term community development began to complement and generally replace the idea of urban renewal, which typically focused on physical development projects, often at the expense of working class communities. One of the earliest proponents of the term in the United States was the social scientist William Biddle, who taught at Earlham College in Indiana and wrote the first book on community development called The Community Development Process. In the late 1960s, philanthropies such as the Ford Foundation and government officials such as Senator Robert F. Kennedy took an interest in local nonprofit organizations. A pioneer was the Bedford Stuyvesant Restoration Corporation in Brooklyn, which attempted to apply business and management skills to the social mission of uplifting low-income individuals and their neighborhoods, as well as the residents. Eventually, such groups became known as Community Development Corporations, or CDCs. Federal laws beginning in 1974 with the Housing and Community Development Act provided a way for state and municipal governments to channel funds to CDCs and other nonprofit organizations. National organizations such as the Neighborhood Reinvestment Corporation, which was founded in 1978 and now known as NeighborWorks America, the Local Initiative Support Corporation, founded in 1980, and the Enterprise Foundation, founded in 1981, have built extensive networks of affiliated local nonprofit organizations which help provide financing for countless physical and social development programs in urban and rural communities all across America. The CDCs and similar organizations have been credited with starting the process that stabilized and revived seemingly hopeless inner city areas such as the South Bronx in New York City. With that, I would like to now introduce Reverend Adrian Brooks, who is the founder and president of Memorial Community Development Corporation. Reverend Brooks is a native of Henderson, Kentucky, and has been a minister since February 3rd, 1980. He has been the pastor of Memorial Baptist Church since 1993. Under his leadership, the congregation has grown to over 4,500 members. The church offers over 50 ministries to the Evansville and tri-state community, which includes substance abuse counseling, youth education programs, family life components, women's ministries, housing, and commercial developments. In 1994, Reverend Brooks founded the Memorial Community Development Corporation, a 501c3 nonprofit organization. During his tenure, the MCDC has developed a child care center, medical clinic, a Subway restaurant, youth employment program, urban garden market, a shopping plaza, 105 apartment units, and 12 single-family homes, an emergency housing rehab program, and the Black Chamber of Commerce. Reverend Brooks is active in the civic life of his community of Evansville. He sits on numerous national, statewide, and local boards of directors. Before I turn it over to Reverend Brooks, we have a video that he would like to show you. So if you'll bear with me one moment. I apologize, folks. We were having difficulty with the sound on that, and so I'm going to turn it over to Reverend Brooks, who has some slide presentations and can walk us through those and share with us more about Memorial Community Development Corporation. Reverend Brooks.
Thank you, Kerry. Good morning, everyone. It's good to be with you. I want to thank Jessica Love, our able leader at Prosperity, for the invitation and the opportunity to share, and also with Jadira at Fifth Third, our sponsor, for the great work that they do in the partnership that we have with them, even locally here in Evansville. And so we want to thank both of them, and thank you, Kerry, for giving us that foundational information that will make perhaps my presentation a little more meaningful. I want to briefly just talk to you this morning about the exciting ministry that I've been blessed to be a part of. That's the Memorial Baptist Church, the Memorial Community Development Corporation. And we look at ourselves as leading a spiritual and economic revolution here in the city of Evansville. And as most of you know, from the inception, churches have always practiced charity and philanthropy and community organizing and building. We understand the link between the spiritual and the temporal concerns, even in particular in the predominantly Black church experience. Slave preachers would even address the physical and social needs of plantation slaves, and self-help became an integral part and feature of that emerging Black church experience. When churches provide food and shelter and educational services, and when they collect and utilize their financial resources, it is with the conviction that this is a part of our duty to God. And so what we do is, this is simply our faith at work is the way in which we term this. People in our community feel that the church is a welcome place to seek help, whether it is food or shelter or clothing or monetary assistance. I was sharing with the group that because of our volunteers, our bookstore, our food pantry, our counseling services all operate with very low labor-related costs. Those of us who operate faith-based institutions must not sell ourselves short. We are a valuable, strategic, focused, effective administrative machine that does much with comparably little when you look at our resources. Think about what the church has accomplished and look at the size of our staffs. It is no less than a miracle. So let me quickly share with all of you what God has done at our church and with our Community Development Corporation, this church that I went to in November of 1993, and how God has shown favor to those initial 45 individuals who were there when I got there. And I hope this will help motivate others to also engage in community development and brighten the corner where you are. The Memorial Baptist Church is a Christ-centered Christian community. It embraces Pentecostal fire, charismatic fire, and historic liturgy and worship. And we hold intention a call to spirit-filled living, social renewal, and we do all of this under these what we call 4 pillars, and that is evangelizing, educating, emancipating, and empowering, and then innovating, all in the name of our Lord Jesus Christ, through loving and lifting and liberating humanity. Now, one of the things I want people to understand about us also is that when we started this work, we made a pledge that we were here to help all people. And so we do not exclude any, we embrace all. Our next slide is the CDC's vision. It is to simply make the Center City of Evansville and surrounding area a vibrant community, a place where all will be proud to call home, and a place where all can reach potential. That is our goal, is to help all that live within our community reach potential, regardless of where you were born or the color of your your skin, or whether you are a person of faith or a person not of faith. Our mission is simply to be a progressive ministry, and we seek to simply facilitate spiritual growth of individuals in our community by showing them a holistic ministerial paradigm. We're unapologetically evangelistic. That means we market a lot in terms of the church and its ministries, but we're not a church that puts your arm, bend your arm behind you and say, oh, you must believe before you get help. No, we believe that we help people because we ourselves have been helped. So the CDC's mission is simply to serve as a not-for-profit corporation. It was established by the Memorial Baptist Church. Our goal was to change the economic and social, cultural, physical, and educational course of the center city of Evansville, Indiana, surrounding communities, because many of our folks come from some of our surrounding communities, including the one where I was born, Henderson, Kentucky. We tried to put together a very progressive church governance and organizational structure so that when people look at this, they will know that we are serious about, one, our integrity and our credibility, so that people will not question our motives. We put together a system of fiscal integrity with a CPA and a bookkeeping service, and then in-house individuals who also are in charge of watching over our fiscal systems. So that because what we have found is that in the landscape of our country, many times not-for-profits have done good work, had good hearts, but they didn't keep good books. And so as a result of that, some of the work was overshadowed by a lack of good bookkeeping, and we did not want to be subjected to that. We looked at church models and business models as well, and we tried to create a hybrid that gave us the best structure to meet our community's needs, as well as serve our congregants as well, because many of our congregants are the ones who in particular supplied resources in those early years to help launch our CDC. And we wanted them to know that those resources were going to leverage a lot of opportunity, community development opportunity in Evansville. Our corporate structure looks like this. We call it the Memorial Village. The Memorial Village. And in that village is the church, it's the Community Development Corporation, it is our housing, it is our business corp. We are still working on the development of our credit union. And then we have some of our more what we would call private enterprise, social entrepreneurialism with our Memorial Ventures, and in particular trying to meet the needs of those who find themselves in food deserts, and then the Memorial Trust Fund, our foundation, which allows us to take some of the resources that we have gotten from previous project development and use those resources to plow back in investments into our community. Our healthcare clinic was developed in a partnership with Dr. Anthony Hall, who unfortunately passed away a few years ago. And we are currently working with one of our local hospitals to see if we cannot repurpose our clinic. We do have, and I'll show you this shortly, we do have a parish nurse, and we do have the Evansville Black Nursing Association that are housed within our CDC office. The organizational core, just to kind of, again, give you an overview of our core, the CDC's core. Of course, I am the president and founder. We have a board of directors made up of both business folk and community individuals. We have the executive director, or is listed as the deputy director. She is now our executive director. and her name is Sarita Cabell, and she and Rashida Jackson Ajibadi are and also Karma Green Johnson. They are three of the sharpest educated young African American females in Evansville, Indiana, and they really push the day-to-day initiatives of the CDC and are doing a wonderful job, which again is a part of our vision, and that is taking young people who have a passion for improving their communities and allowing them the opportunity on a day-to-day basis to use those talents and abilities to change our communities for the good. So these individuals have grown up in our community, gone to the University of Evansville, and also have both their undergraduate and their graduate degrees, and are doing a great work. And then you can see the other areas of emphasis with education and neighborhood, social entrepreneurialism, youth programs, and the health clinic. I just always talk about the both of the structures in terms of both the church and the CDC, because we are a faith driven organization. We need for all to be committed to this work. And so our church provides us with a healthy, wholesome group of volunteers who also bring a wealth of talent with them. And so the church administrative structure is there, and I wanted to show that. And then there is that day-to-day structure that shows the core leadership, with Christ being the head, because we are Christians, and not, you could be a Jewish organization or a Islamic organization. It would not matter to us. It is our faith that drives us in what we do. So let me also say that we are a welcoming church. And so we invite people, and we treat people the way we want to be treated. And so we find that we draw people from our community because we've been willing to open our doors, whether it was for a funeral of someone who did not have a church home, or whether it is an individual who needs assistance. We do those things for people regardless. And so we found that if you are a inviting environment, you will grow. I use this reference on a 5-Star Church because one of the things that I have learned in this journey is that I don't want to offer services that are ever viewed as secondary to anyone. We want people to know that the services that they receive are second to none, whether it was through our clinic or through our housing or any of our programs that we have developed. I have a saying, I don't build anything that I won't live in. And so I think that's important, that when we say 5-star, we're saying that we want to have a ministry that honors God and makes everyone feel welcome and cared for, and also never feel like they're receiving second-class services. We've done these things by continuing to assess and address the needs of our community. We believe in planning and gathering data, and then we also believe in talking about outcomes and reporting results. But ultimately, we also believe in having fun while we work. And so when people see the group of individuals who work through the CDC, when they see us laughing and joking and working and sweating all at the same time, they might confuse us as being crazy, but we're not crazy. We're just able to wake up every morning and do the things that we feel we've been called to do, and and have fun doing it. And so when you watch us interact with people who work with us on a daily basis, one of the things you will find is that we are happily engaged in this community development and ministry work. So we assess and address the needs. You know, what are some of the needs? What are some of the needs of the people? What are it? And we can do that also by going within our congregation and surveying it. One of the things we found out about senior housing is that seniors wanted to be a part of a housing development that maintained a sense of community and interaction and intersection with everyone in that community. They did not want to be isolated. So our seniors who live in our housing are very engaged with both the ministries of the church. You'll see them going over and volunteering at the child care, are planting flowers around the campus, are going over and getting a sandwich at Subway restaurant, are even taking attendance for the youth employment program. So they are very much a part, and they love the vegetables that come out of the garden program too. So they are very much a part of the community that they are living in. So they're not living isolated lives, but they're very engaged in what's going on in the community. And so we've found that by doing surveys and talking with people, so that when we develop housing, it is developed in a way that the people have described are helpful and useful ways to stay engaged in what they would find a very fulfilling existence. Assess and addressing needs is very critical to us. And then we looked at the healthy church, healthy community. We looked at the mental health issue in our community. We understood that there was a need for a counseling dimension. We have a licensed therapist and others who have created the support groups, the NA and AA, and also the counseling ministry to help meet those needs within our community and to take away some of the stigma. Physical health is always an issue within our community, and so we believe that it's important to have those recreational activities. It's kind of tough right now during this pandemic crisis, but we pride ourselves in making sure that we practice social distancing, but we will not disconnect from our community. And so we've found ways to stay connected. Another thing is the spiritual health. Again, keeping people connected through Bible study and live stream worship services and other conduits to learning. And then because fiscal and financial health is real critical in every community, we offer everything from the Dave Ramsey curriculum. We also have an individual who retired as the controller of Bristol Myers Squibb, who leads money management courses in our church and has developed her own software program, and she downloads that for individuals who participates in her class, and then she shows them how to track their income and expenses and also how to accumulate wealth. And so she's very good at that. The next thing you will see is these are some outcomes of the assessments that we have done and surveys that we have done. So let me just quickly go over some of these things, and then I'll be happy to take any questions if there are any. And that is the Faith-Based Counseling Center deals with issues of depression and parenting and family counseling, couples counseling, anger management, teen parenting, and youth counseling. All of these are issues that exist within our community. We've taken much of the stigma away from that, and are really making some inroads with families in our community and helping them deal with some of the mental health challenges that some have. I talked to you earlier about our parish nursing program. That again is a unique ministry that we have. We have a parish nurse who checks on all of our sick and shut in our community and in our church, offers a annual health fair, which is a big deal, brings in some 50 plus exhibitors, and they do prostate cancer screening, breast cancer screening, mammograms, and other tests that help our community to hopefully bring down those numbers, because as you well know, we are disproportionately represented within the cancers and hypertension and diabetes, and now even COVID-19. We were a part of an advocacy group that advocated that, again, we needed more testing centers in the center city, because the data was revealing that certain zip codes were more disproportionate in numbers of COVID-19 cases. And so as a result of that advocacy, we now have centers in the center city addressing the issue of testing in Evansville. And we can thank people like our parish nurse and others. The physical activities we talked about earlier, the Zumba and sports leagues, it brings people together, but it also gets folks active and walking, and the nutrition classes, showing people how to eat right, and really menu planning and canning is a big deal as we move in through this economic crises. Showing people how to can vegetables and fruits is going to allow some dollars to stretch a little further, and so we're definitely engaged in that. Spiritual health is always a priority for us, and so, but not only do we have the Bible study and the worship experiences, but bringing people together and sharing creates, again, that ongoing sense of community, and you don't have to be a member of our church to participate. I talked earlier about financial health, and stewardship and budgeting and financial literacy are all a part of our DNA, helping people to stretch those dollars. As in my position as part of the advisory council for the Federal Reserve Bank, one of the critical issues is the wealth gap between Blacks and white families in our country. And so we're trying to do our part in creating wealth within our community. This is just a basic assessment about knowing your community and what their needs are, and some potential funding streams that we share with you. All right, then going right into our programmatic pieces, our Child Care and Learning Center. One of the surveys we did, we found out that infant, toddler child care was a real need, especially as it relates to affordability for a lot of families. And so we created an infant, toddler child care. Eventually, we increased the ages, but starting out, it was for infant toddlers because of the need. And again, we work with families because we understand a lot of young families don't have a lot of resources, may not always even qualify for some of the voucher programs. And so we work with families to make this an affordable experience. We have a fit camp for young people during the summer. And so we have young kids who are in our fit camp program, and not only are they excited about it, but they exercise. They're in our parks. They go on field trips. We teach them how to eat as well, and that's very important. The Sensibles program is teaching young people about literacy as well. Our youth employment program started out a summer program. Now it pretty well goes year round. They clean up center city areas. And what we're also doing is using the professional development time on Fridays to talk with them about entrepreneurialism and also about financial literacy. And as a result of the discussions as relates to entrepreneurialism, there is a spinoff now, and they are now engaged in creating a youth enterprise. Of course, we own the Subway restaurant. It was our first commercial development, and then after that, we later on bought a shopping plaza, and so the Subway is managed, of course, by a franchisee. The shopping plaza, which we have closed, I'll talk to you a little in a very few minutes about that, still has the Dollar Tree that anchors that development. We are repurposing the grocery store, and basically the grocery store is being, that section of the plaza is being demolished and converted into a commercial residential development that will create a kind of a courtyard setting for the Dollar Tree and for 2 or 3 small service businesses, and 24 units of affordable housing will be there. And so it's going to be a really nice development. And we hope that a part of that will be a grocery store operation as well. But we're working on that, and our work continues. But in terms of the apartments and the space and the development, those are all done. Construction should start before the end of summer on that development. Our healthcare clinic, I talked to you earlier about that. We are currently in discussions with one of our local health systems here because we feel that the work that was being done really started to bring some of those numbers down, and started to also we saw the infant mortality rate come down as well. It has always been high in our area, the minority infant mortality rate, and that's a concern of ours. But so are the overall mortality rates in the center city. And so we're meeting with health executives currently to see if we cannot create a new partnership and start addressing these issues through our clinic structure that's already there. We've got the parish nurse, we've got the Black Nurses Association, and so we're looking for them to come alongside. Our Housing Development Corporation continues to expand. I just alluded to one development, but one of the things that we always want people to understand about us is that our thing is to provide the housing more than anything else. We want it to be secure. We want it to be clean. We want it to be cost effective. We want to help those families that live within our development in terms of mentoring and educating their children. And we want them to enjoy a safe, decent, and really nice place to live. And so we keep our rents as affordable as possible, and we keep our the supportive services right there to support those families that live in that area. We also do single family residential housing. Again, we thank God for Fifth Third and the City of Evansville and Old National Bank and the Affordable and the Federal Home Loan Bank and ICTA as well, because we do get tax credits. All of these things help us to create housing opportunities for people that live within our city. And if you ever get a chance to come to Evansville and look at our houses, one of the things you will see is they are really nice because we want people to live in nice environments. And again, I'm not going to build it if I wouldn't live in it. Micro enterprise, we do a small micro enterprise loan. Basically, we help businesses develop. One of our really great success stories is the Osborne Funeral Home. It continues to grow and expand, and they were one of our first clients. And we developed the first building that they housed the funeral home in. We acquired it and developed that. They moved in it, and they have since moved into a larger place, and their business continues to expand. But we're proud to say that we were a part of their development. And so, again, that's one of our crowning jewels. There are other businesses that we have certainly helped and will help in the future. It is a revolving loan, and so you lend out as people pay back in. Our Urban Garden Market program is another program that I certainly enjoy because it covers a lot of base. We hire about 15 young people to operate within this program. We hire about 70, 75 in the youth employment program. And so you can see that my passion for young people continues as well. The garden provides vegetables. We show young people how to grow wholesale and how to sell retail. And we show them also that it is important to give back. So a portion of what they grow also goes to charity or to the food pantries, so that they understand the importance of not just making money, but the importance of also supporting those in your community who need it most. Because of the pandemic situation, social media has become so critical. And so we're using live stream and all the vehicles available to us to get the word out about the opportunity at our Community Development Corporation and our church, and that all are still welcome, and that we will come to you if you need food or if you need assistance. I developed a foundation here recently. It's the Adrian M. Brooks Foundation, and it was set up. I was celebrating my 25th year, and it was set up to garner funds to give out scholarships to young people and to support other social and cultural activities in our community. Again, it is important to know your community, know the issues that exist, and be a part of the solution. And if you do that, God will get glory, and people in your community will celebrate the work that you do. And nobody will ever question the motives of ministry when the ministry is having an impact on people. There's some more there. Running out of time, and that's all right, because it's Monday, and getting a preacher to talk on Monday after Sunday is a great feat in itself. But it's probably good, because otherwise I would be long-winded. So let me finish up by just saying to you that the work we've done has allowed us to exist for 94 years as a church, 24 years, I believe, 25 even as in existence for the CDC, over 80 ministries and programs. We own over 10 acres of land that houses the church, the former church, businesses, and housing. We've got over 105 rental units. Now we're at 15 single family. We've got emergency repair program that helps those who have emergency repair needs. We're partnering with the credit union to develop a CUSO and also we are in the certifying process for CDFI. God continues to give us the energy, the insight, and the passion to do great work in this community. I'm thankful for the people of Memorial and thankful for these young people who work with me side by side every day, trying to make our community better. We also have a 10 house single family home initiative that we are working on as well. And I think that the construction phase of that will happen probably later this fall. So with that, Carrie, I hope I haven't been too long, but I certainly just wanted to say that the church, the Community Development Corporation, that Memorial is blessed to have, is doing some great and wonderful things, and we're thankful that we gotten to live at such a time as this. I'll take any questions if there are any.
Any questions for Reverend Brooks? Reverend Brooks, here's a question. How do you engage community residents in the development and implementation of your programs?
Basically, we work with a couple of groups. I know Sarita is working with the people in the Promise Zone. Also, my wife happens to be president of one of the neighborhood associations. I live in the city, Center City, among the people. And so I'm not driving in from the suburbs and doing this work. I live among the people. And we do surveys. We've also engaged in planning sessions using Will Marquez, who is a local urban developer and planner, and in bringing different groups together to talk about what the needs of our community are.
Excellent. Any other questions from our participants?
I have a question. This is Jessica.
Go ahead, Jessica.
Reverend Brooks, when I think about your work, and I think towards the end of the slides, you talked about the housing work. I'm not sure that you think of your work as starting from there, but when I think of your work, I think about comprehensive community development, and that you kind of start with housing, and then look at all the needs that a person might have. And so, at least from my perspective, I've seen where the credit union work has come from that, or the subway, or the child care, eliminating a barrier to work, really addressing all the elements that a person might need in a holistic way. And so I wanted to know if you could talk a little bit about your the way you think about comprehensive community development and the person as a whole when you're doing your work.
Thank you so much for bringing that up, because that is exactly what we do. We believe that comprehensive community development addresses many of the issues that even are arising as those of you who have been watching the social racist crises that is unfolding in our country. A part of the discussion has been all of the needs within our communities and resources. And so what we have done is looked at how can we address many of these issues. There is advocacy, and then there is also the action. There is advocacy for policy changes that we engage in, but then there is also those times where we roll up our sleeves and say, this block needs to be developed. As that block is developing, we start to interact with those families and find out what those families' needs are. it could be one of the gaps that we saw was this whole technological gap, the digital divide. And so we developed what's called a Bits and Bytes program, where we've got individuals who are working in information technology departments, and they come in and show our kids how to literally develop video games and programs and utilize technology in ways that if I start trying to describe it, I'd mess it up. But that happened because, one, the industry is saying they want to hire more minorities, but they don't have some of those basic technological skills. But we saw that again as an opportunity to start providing some foundational understanding for our young kids, so that someday they might literally be sitting at home with SpongeBob SquarePants pajamas on, making $100,000 designing computer programs at home. And so again, it is starting with the housing, but then assessing what else we can do to come alongside of that. The exercise program, the food program, the food prep programs, the youth employment programs. All of those programs are come alongside of families to help stabilize the community as a whole. And so I think that when you talk comprehensive community development, there ought to be a picture of us somewhere around.
Thank you, Reverend Brooks. We are running out of time, and so on behalf of Prosperity Indiana, I want to thank each of you for participating in today's webinar, Introduction to Community Development. We especially wish to thank Reverend Adrian Brooks and the Memorial Community Development Corporation. Please look for an email from me this afternoon inviting you to take a very brief survey. Your feedback is important as we use this information to enhance the quality of our webinars and training. Also, please check out our website, prosperityindiana.org, to view upcoming events and training for the remainder of July. Next Monday, July 20th, we will host a webinar, Introduction to Community Development, which will explore the fundamentals of economic development. We will hear from Lee Llewellyn, Chief Executive Officer of the Indiana Economic Development Association, as well as local leaders engaged in economic development work. The webinar begins at 10 a.m. Eastern Time, and registration is open on our website. Before we close, I'd like to thank today's sponsor, Fifth Third Bank, for their continued support of our webinar series. Again, we appreciate your participation, and this now concludes the webinar. Thank you, everyone, and have a great week.